Hello, everybody. Welcome to Virtual Happy Hour. I'm Raina from Garden District Bookshop, and tonight I've got the pleasure of talking to Serena Valentino. I'm super excited. She has written like dozens of books, and those include the 8 Disney villain books. I don't know how to count. There we go. 8 Disney villain books, including the one that's coming out next week that we'll be talking a lot about tonight, Cold Hearted, about Lady Tremaine. And if you all have any questions for Serena or me or anything else, type them in the comments and we will answer them in real time. And I'm going to click this button here and invite Serena.
Yay!
Yay! Welcome to Virtual Happy Hour.
So I'm so happy to see you. Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you too. We used to see you all the time when you lived here in New Orleans, and now we don't get to see you as much, so these virtual events are really great.
I know. I miss you guys. I miss coming to the store. It would be like my weekly visit to the store, and then I would sit outside and have coffee, and it was so nice. Yes. Hello, Billy. I love you too.
Soon you'll have all the Disney villain novels. Yes, so I'm going to put a link right now to Cold Hearted, and we have a special thing going on with Serena where she will personalize copies for you if you place them through the bookshop over the next couple of days. Yes. So here's the link to Cold Hearted, and
here's
you can
book plates.
Yes.
Can you see them?
Yes.
Official Disney book plates.
It's so awesome. They do all this effort and make these special Disney book plates so they just have the little Disney at the bottom.
I love it. They're so cute. Look. Oh, wait. There we go. Can you see it? Oh.
Yes. So if you place an order through the website, in the comments, you can put your name or whatever the personalization is that you'd like. And if you want to give us a call, you can call us during regular business hours. And of course, we'll take that order and get Serena to personalize those book plates for you.
That'll be so much fun. And then I'll get them sent off to Garden District in like the next couple days. And then you guys will have your book plates. I'm assuming you're going to send orders out like as soon as the books are available.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're here in town, you could pick yours up on Tuesday morning. But if we're mailing it to you, we'll usually mail them out Monday or Tuesday. So it would be a couple of days behind, but you'll get them next week for sure. So tell me about Lady Tremaine.
About Lady Tremaine? Well, first of all, do you want to see how beautiful she is? I have
a
book.
It's so pretty.
She's so pretty. And oh, wait, look. Here's the thing. And that's the inside.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Yes, I love it. The gentleman that does these covers is just like so amazing.
The book art is so much fun. And I always check under the dust jacket now.
Yeah.
Note to everyone, no matter what book you purchase, always check under the dust jacket because those things are hiding in there. And if no one tells you, a lot of times you don't know. I found them like, 2 or 3 months after a book comes out, I'm shelving something and the dust jacket sort of slips and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a whole map under here. What's happening? Like there's this beautiful stuff.
It's like a surprise. Like when we did the first book, we were like, oh, we should have like a surprise underneath, and it just became like a thing with all the other books. But so you said to tell you about Lady Tremaine. I mean, about this story.
One of the things that I do find fascinating is learning the names of these characters that a lot of times aren't mentioned maybe at all in the movies or whatever that we know, especially from Disney. So so here's the question. Did this name come from the canon or where does Lady Tremaine?
Well, Lady Tremaine is from canon. So, but I couldn't give her a first name because there is no first name in canon. I wanted to, but we decided it would be best not to since it's not canon. She's just known as Lady Tremaine. Right. So throughout the entire book, just like the Beast book, like I had to call the Beast like the Beast or the Beast Prince, like how Queen Grimhild, we didn't call her Grimhild in Fairest of All. We called her the Queen and the Wicked Queen or whatever. But I play around and, like her friends will say like my dear or my lady, so I try to mix it up a bit. So it's just Lady Tremaine like every 5 seconds. But but yeah, but I was able to give her husband a name, like Cinderella's dad. I was able to give him a name, which was cool, Sir Richard. In my mind, he's Sir Richard of the Realm, you know, because he's very famous.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so, and then everybody else who's like from the film is named what they were in the film. Like the Grand Duke is the Grand Duke, you know, things like that. So yeah.
Okay. Do you have any personal favorite Disney movie? Personal favorite Disney movie. There we go.
Personal favorite Disney movie.
Yeah.
I think this wasn't always so. I mean, like I would normally say Sleeping Beauty because Maleficent's my favorite villain. But after rewatching 101 Dalmatians, like doing Cruella, I think that's my favorite, honestly. Like right now, it's like my current favorite because I love all the animals. Like it's just so cute, like all the barn animals and the dogs and like everything it was adorable. So it's my current favorite, and I also love the art style and like the color palette and everything. I kind of miss that actually. Like, I love that style of animation. So
yeah, and the older Disney films have like they had their coloring is different than what they use now. And so like Robin Hood is one of my favorite Disney movies.
That's a beautiful movie. Yeah.
I mean, it has that same coloring to it. Have you seen the new Cruella movie?
I haven't seen it yet. I've been holding off. I'm really excited to see all her fashions, and a lot of it's been spoiled for me. So I've been waiting to have the spoilers like leave my, you know, so that I can watch it and have it not be spoiled, you know? So
I imagine it's harder. I don't know. Maybe I'm making this up. Is it harder for you to avoid spoilers because you're kind of like in the Disney like?
No, we don't like call each other and spoil things. Like nobody from the studio is calling me and like, "Hey, Serena, guess what happens in Cruella?" But no, just on social media, you know, like seeing, you know, different posts and stuff like that, or like videos and stuff. I practically know the entire movie, and so I kind of want to have that like leave my brain and watch it. We were gonna watch it like when it very first came out. I can't remember what it was that came up. But we couldn't do it, and then
those really are your only two options. It's like the minute it arrives, or you just wait for it to wear off a little bit.
Oh, look, there's Seal. He's publicist at Disney's this best.
I recognize that name now.
You should. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
These beautiful Disney book plates for y'all.
Yay! Everybody thanks you. Okay, so this question, I sort of pre-warned you about this, but I have.
Okay. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm trying to think.
We can circle back to it. I'm going to throw it out there now, and you can circle back. So you write amazing Disney villain books, but if you could pick a villain that wasn't a Disney villain, who would you write about?
Elizabeth Bathory.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, she's like a historical villain, right? But still.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you're looking for like Marvel. You're looking for something more like modern and like topical. So I'll say like let me think of somebody more modern, and I'll tell you later. Like I'll be like, oh wait, I have to.
Yeah. All right, I have her Wikipedia page queued up though, because I don't know much about her.
I already did Delphine LaLaurie, who you would know about, living in New York. Yeah, and I had a really good time like fictionalizing her story, and so I think Elizabeth Bathory would be equally fun. You know, just how her treacherous backstory.
Right? No, I'm looking over. I was reading over her Wikipedia page. Okay, I'm just gonna share this, y'all, because later go click on this and look this up, because yes, I want to know what she was thinking.
Yeah. So like, what made you think you could just like bathe in people's blood and it would be okay? You know, it would like make you young. Yeah.
This is I'm going to segue this right back under PG-13, not on purpose, but I had a book growing up. It was all about milk, and one of the it was like it's just each page it was different ways people use it, where it comes from, all this stuff. And one of the pages was about like a queen that would bathe in milk.
Oh.
And it never mentioned who or anything. It was a very simple little book. But since that time when I was like 8 or something, I've always wanted to do this. And one day I'm going to just spend the money and fill a bathtub with milk and just be like, here we go.
I think if you want to do it right, it needs to be buttermilk, right? I think.
Oh my goodness.
I read when I was younger too that, like, you know, fancy ladies would bathe in buttermilk when they weren't bathing in blood, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just a dip. And there's like a spa treatment where you just spend 5 minutes in blood, 5 minutes in buttermilk, a little shower, just, you know, and then go back out into the world.
Right. Oh my God. Where are we even doing this?
Right? Well, when we're done here, we're going to start business plans for our own goth spa.
Right.
It's inspired both by Disney and real serial killers. So
I like that we have like simultaneous sipping happening.
Yeah, well, you got to take them. We're just like, what do we talk about now? Where do we go? Okay. So, when you were writing this book, like, how long? What's your turnaround time, writing wise, for the villain books? Because I know they've been coming out about once a year. Mm-hmm. So
there's a lot of planning before I actually start writing, thank goodness, because like I would need longer deadlines for like all of the, you know, like planning ahead of time and stuff like that, and the research and so forth. But my first drafts usually take me about 3 months, and I do pretty bare bones, like first drafts. Like they're really, if you imagine a manuscript is like a person, you know, like a fully clothed, like lipstick, hair, everything done person. Like my first drafts are like the skeleton, right? That's basically what they are. And then the next draft is like where you get all the meat, and then each polish is like, you know, oh, a swanky outfit. Oh, the hair and makeup is getting done, you know, and then it gets to, you know, copy editing, you know, that's when we really put the, you know, the finish, you know, like maybe it would be like the mister that you put on to make sure your makeup stays on, you know.
Yes. I've heard of this fancy thing you've mentioned.
I discovered it when I was in New Orleans, because my makeup would always like, melt in New Orleans. I could do some now because I'm melting in my house right now.
Does it work? I mean, should I invest?
It works, but you look beautiful. You don't need it.
Oh, well, not. I mean, today we're inside, but I will one day have to go outside again.
Right.
And it's not good out there.
It totally works. But yeah, so it takes me about 3 months to do the first draft. And then, you know, my editor spends some time with it. She sends it back, and I spend like maybe a couple more months in the next draft. And, you know, it takes a good like half a year or so for that process. And then, you know, there's a whole other process that I'm not even like a part of, you know, with all of the promoting and whatnot and stuff like that.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So Margaret is already a customer. So we already have a Goth Spa customer. She's ready. We just tell her when and where.
I would love Margaret to come to our Goth Spa.
Everyone here gets a 20% discount if you're watching when we open the. I just made an executive decision because
back and
who
forth.
knows?
We'll do like red velvet cupcakes.
Yes, we do. We need little treats, little goth treats. We could do just the tiny little kind of 4 squares of red velvet cake. I'm in. Yes. Don't ever stop writing your Disney villain books.
Oh.
And if anybody has a question for Serena, type it in the comments and we will answer it.
I love answering questions.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for readers to read Lady Tremaine's story. It's like, because in Evil Thing, we weren't in the many kingdoms. We were in London because, you know, we're in more modern times. So for Lady Tremaine, we get to go back to where the timeline left off with the books previous to what we left off in Odd Sisters. So, and we left Odd Sisters kind of at a cliffhanger. We're like, what's going to happen to Odd Sisters? What's going to happen to Cersei? You know, Snow White, like Nanny, like all the ongoing characters, Tulip, Oberon, all those people. So now we're back in that timeline, and we get little snippets of what's going on with the Odd Sisters and how they were involved in Lady Tremaine's story. And telling Lady Tremaine's story from before she got married to Cinderella's father. So we get to see not only like her backstory, but how the Odd Sisters tried to step into her story, and then it will bring us back to our timeline that we like ended in, because it can, like collides with the timeline of the Odd Sisters. So it's all happening like in real time now. Everything's like caught up to each other. So I'm really excited to see what people are going to think, because Lady Tremaine's like one of the few characters besides Cruella de Vil. Oh my God, my dog's barking. Of course. I was gonna put a sign up on the gate that said, "Please don't come onto the porch," because I'm doing an interview, and I think next time, yeah. But I'm really, what was I even saying? I'm
Lady Tremaine is one of the only characters
that's still alive, because she doesn't die at the end of the story, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, what is going to happen to this woman? So that was like one of the biggest like things for me, was like, what happens to Lady Tremaine and her sisters? Like her daughters, how do they end up? Do they just stay in Cinderella's castle? And I decided that we should totally do like a Grey Gardens thing,
oh my goodness.
Right. So we've got like kind of like a combination of like Grey Gardens and Miss Havisham happening, like in Cinderella's old chateau. They're wandering around, like people think they're ghosts. Everything is just like crazy for them. They're like trapped in this house, and Queen Cinderella, as a matter of fact, finds out like what's going on, and she writes a letter to her fairy godmother. Is like, will you please help my stepsisters? Like, they're having a horrible time. And I don't know, the people who are familiar with the series will know that like fairy godmother doesn't want anything to do with any of the villains. She's like, I'm not going to help them. So she basically has to be convinced whether or not she should help the wicked stepsisters, help Anastasia and Drusilla. And that's how we learn Lady Tremaine and Anastasia and Drusilla's story is, basically Nanny, her sister, trying to talk her sister into helping them, because she's the one that has to help Cinderella because she's her fairy godmother. So yeah,
love it.
I'm excited.
Yes,
excited for everybody to read it.
And I love like what you're talking about, where there's all the pieces. If you've read all of them, you get these little like Easter egg information, as you go along. I love that so much.
Yeah.
All right, we have a few questions. So Seal is asking, what made you fall in love with villains?
Oh my gosh. What made me fall in love with villains? I mean, like from a child, I really loved Snow White. So like I saw Snow White for the first time when I was little. So I fell in love with Snow White. But I also fell in love with the Wicked Queen because I just thought she was beautiful. I just feel like they're always more interesting, and they always left more to the imagination. There was like, we didn't know very much about, the Wicked Queen. We didn't know very much about Maleficent. And so that would make my imagination race and like wonder, why would Maleficent get so mad that she wasn't invited to the christening? What was it besides vanity that made the Wicked Queen like want to kill her own daughter? Like these are the things that like I thought about. Me and my sister used to sit around and think about it. We had posters of Maleficent and the Wicked Queen like around the house. We're like big fans. And then the fact that I get to like grow up, I was an adult then too, but like that I get to grow up and tell the stories that I like fantasize about, like, is awesome. So yeah, I think the fact that they sparked my imagination is the reason why I love them. Seal, thank you for the question.
Okay, so we have another question. What made you give Beast's enchantress name of Cersei?
What made me give her Cersei in mythology was a witch, and she had the ability to turn people into animals. And I liked the connection of her turning the prince into a beast by the curse. So I thought that the name would fit.
That's great. Also, yes, you should read the mythology, but if you haven't read Circe by Mary Miller,
Oh yes, that's supposed to be a really great book.
That's a good one. Our book club read it like a few months ago, and yeah, it was a really good one, and it gives you a good idea of, it's not mythology, but it gives you a good feel for who Circe was in Greek mythology, for sure. Okay, Hugo asks,
Hugo,
will we learn more about the other queens of the dead, like Desponia the First, that were featured in the family tree?
I know who he means. Yeah, Hugo, I love you. Okay, not in the Lady Tremaine story, but we certainly will possibly. I mean, I have their history written in my brain, right? And there's so much like that I don't know if I'm going to share or not, but I do hope that I do. I have plans to. So maybe Hugo, maybe question mark.
You have the ideas, you just need the green light.
Right. Well, I have everything like written, it's like their history, like I know.
And that's something that you've needed, just you did as sort of backstory for the other books that you've written, just so you have it and know, or as side?
When I create characters that are in the story, I think that like for them to be like believable and characters that people can relate to, I have to know who they are. I can always tell when an author like throws somebody out there and they haven't thought really anything about them. Like I want them to feel like solid, fleshed out people. And so oftentimes, there's a lot about my characters that I maybe don't share, but I feel because I know it, I feel like I know them, and then I can write them better. Maybe I don't know. It's just
that makes sense.
Way I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I figure you should know at least as much as like maybe your characters would know or would be familiar with. Like they're a stranger on the street, then maybe they're just a stranger on the street, and you wanted to notice their genes, and that's all. Right. But if there's somebody that's connected, then yeah, it seems like that would help you build this story, even if it never really is put on the page in the book you're currently writing.
Yeah, I was once like adapting something that I'd done, not for Disney, like my creator-owned thing for a TV show at one point, and it didn't happen. And the producers that I was working with at the time were like, we're really confused by your characters. And I'm like, why? They're like because every single character is like super fleshed out. And so they all seem like main characters. And I'm like, how is that a problem? Like, like, they're like, well, it's very confusing because we don't know who's supposed to be the main character. I was like, clearly, so they're like, I was like,
it's like, I'm going to give you more. And then maybe like if you have to dial it back, that's on y'all.
Right.
Okay. We say that like in acting and stuff too, go big. And then if the director wants you to dial it back, that's cool. But like, I don't know, more information seems good. Yeah. Okay, so to this end, I know that some authors come up with things like zodiac signs and favorite colors and just these sort of things. Right. Do you do that for your characters, like those types of like just quick bio info? And if you do, did you do it for the villains? Like give them like their zodiacs and stuff? No. Yeah. I more so got to know them like on an emotional level. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think of zodiacs or like favorite ice cream or, like favorite breakfast cereal, stuff like that. I just tried to get to know them in the way that like maybe an actor would get to know a character they're going to play in a movie, so that I could really sort of like embody them the best way, the best way that I could. Though I do encourage that, like I used to teach a class on character creation and using character creation as a jumping point for storytelling and world building. And I would encourage those things because I do think, especially for kids, when they're learning how to do character creation, like thinking of those things like, well, what's his favorite cereal? Where do they live? Who's their best friend? What's their next door neighbor like? Like all those things. And I used to do that when I started doing Gloom Cookie, but now it's mostly like me trying to feel the way that they feel and connect with like the people in their lives that they connect with most. So one of those exercises that, you're talking about, with those are like the points, and then you're trying to connect those points, you know, favorite colors, green, favorite ice cream is pistachio. We're connecting the story. So at this point, that's what it sounds like. You're sort of like creating that feeling and the connection between those things, but you don't have to really write those points down the same way anymore.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all authors are different. Some authors want to create the world first and then bring characters into that world. And for me, it always starts with the character, and then I build the world around them.
Well, and what makes that technique work so well for the villain books, because a lot of the world we're aware of already, we're familiar with. So in a lot of ways, so you're putting these characters that we barely know much about, and that's the piece. And I think that's why you're so good for writing these villain books.
Thank you.
You know, you expand on that world, but those characters are like, that's who you fall in love with, and you follow along. You know, I love it.
And we do get to know characters by the environments that they're in, you know, and I do try to bring their environments into the story, but my main objective is to let the readers get to know who they are. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to turn that question that we had earlier about a villain, I'm going to kind of twist that. So if you could write a story about Disney or not Disney, I suppose, about like another, it doesn't have to be the princess, but like not necessarily a villain. Like, is there a side character that you've ever wanted to like know more about?
A side character in the Disney pantheon, or?
Sure.
Sure. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Maybe those are two questions. We could do Disney and not necessarily Disney.
Okay. But can you start over? What was
so with like Robin Hood? Okay, the Maid Marian Robin Hood sort of situation is like been written, but in Disney, I see like she's a character. I would love to hear this story from her side of the story, which she's not the villain or the hero necessarily. A weird, like I'm obsessed with that Robin Hood movie. All the little bunny family from the Robin Hood movie. Like I could know like about some sort of side characters that aren't necessarily villains, or I don't know.
So so you want to know if there's any side characters that I'd like to tell her?
Yes.
That's a really hard question for me to answer, because I am working on some secret project.
I totally just sprung that on you. Like, there's nothing. That just came to mind. I just wanted to personally know. So
yeah, no, I'm working.
Never
mind. I happen to be working on some side story. We're working on some characters and like their stories, and it's like a dream come true situation. But I can't talk about who or what it is. I've been referring to it online as my secret Disney projects. So we'll revisit that.
Yes. Okay. So next time we'll answer that question.
Yeah.
So glad I asked.
Yes. You're like, because I don't think I told you about it.
No, I just walked right into
I
that.
haven't told anybody. Yeah. Me and my editor know.
Billy brings up Captain Hook, which I have to agree.
Captain Hook, what?
A Captain Hook backstory book one day.
Oh, yes. Everybody thinks that Captain Hook is next after Lady Tremaine. I want everybody to read the Lady Tremaine story and get back to me and tell me if you think it's going to be Captain Hook or somebody else. So there's definitely a lot of clues in the Lady Tremaine book about who's going to be next. I mean, I think that readers are going to be fairly certain, like, who's next after they read this book. And if they aren't certain, I'm going to be like, read it again. Because
just do it again. Okay, so how long do you think it's going to be between when the book comes out and people start like messaging you with the answer to that question?
Like within moments, you know. It's like people, I love it. Like, 'cause my readers are the absolute best. They'll read the book in a few hours, you know, or like overnight, and then I start getting like DMs, like, you know, questions or feedback, or just telling me that they love the book, and it makes me so happy. Like, whenever there's a release, I usually like mark out like a few days just to like be on social media so I can talk to readers.
That's so amazing. That's so great to be like, accessible and that that's part of the give and take. In my opinion, the plus of doing something like, being an author or actress or something that puts you a little bit in the spotlight is that you get to have this interaction, that feedback. It's not always 100% positive all the time, but anytime I've been in a similar situation, it's like, okay, I'll take the 10 good for the 1 bad. We're good. Like,
Right.
Bring it on, because this is only going to last a week. So let's do that.
Yeah. I'm really happy. The book seems to be doing well so far. It's like #1 new release on Amazon right now, which is nice.
Yes.
So,
and I'll tell you, your last book, we had a family come and they were picking up the book that they had ordered. And the parents wanted to keep looking around. And so the daughter's like, can I please just, can I take it? They haven't paid for it yet because they were paying all together. And she probably had 2 or 3 chapters done by the time, like, she sat in the chair and she's just reading, and her parents are like looking around and everything. Right. And no, I saw where she stuck her bookmark in, and I was like, you had to have down like 30 pages just sitting back there. But just devouring it.
Yeah, that's what most people are like. I power read this book, like, and then people read them 4, 5, 7 times, and they'll reread them again, like right before the new book is coming out, and I'm just like, wow. Oh, somebody said hi to Gozer. Oh, because
well, that's a good question. Okay, everybody. So who rereads the books before the new one comes out? Because with a lot of series, I do that same thing, especially if it's been, it's been a while between books. I'll like reread, 1 through 3 and then do 4, 1 through 4 and then do 5, So the first books in the series, I've read like, 7 times because, and then that last one, you've only read once or twice.
Right.
So if anybody does that, I'd love to know. Captain Hook would be interesting too, because it's kind of a side world, but also touches on London. So you could tie that in.
Right. Lady Tremaine, based in London, then moves to the Many Kingdoms. And it's kind of interesting because we get to go back to the Many Kingdoms, which we weren't in Gorilla's story, right? Because it was all based in London. Right. But so we start in London with Lady Tremaine, and then we get to experience the Many Kingdoms from her point of view. So it's not from like a magical person's point of view. She's like a regular person. She doesn't have any magic. So I thought it was kind of cool to see it not from like, she's kind of like, okay, this is really incredible and beautiful, but now I'm trapped here, So, right. So it was fun to return, but it was also fun to explore it from a different angle and make it a little bit more of a menacing place than a magical place, which it still is. But magic would be menacing and scary to somebody who's completely mortal and visiting a place like this for the first time. So
absolutely,
because Gozer's like coming over, Mom, what are you doing?
Can we come over? Can I hang out?
Yeah,
like, yeah.
Show me to everybody,
right? Yeah. So this is a good question. Do you plan on doing Hades of Jafar? That would be an interesting one.
I think Hades would be a really fun character to write about, honestly. Like, I love him. He's funny. I mention him every 5 seconds in the series. I imagine him in the Odd Sisters. I mean, in my mind, he's friends with the Odd Sisters. And I almost gave away something from Lady Tremaine's story. But there are some connections. Well, we know in The Mistress of All Evil that Maleficent took over his lair. So we know that he was in the Many Kingdoms at one point, and he'd made a place for himself on Earth there. So it's clear, I think, to the readers that I would like to write about him one day. Of course, I can't say who I'm writing about next, but he is on my list of people I would like to write about. Jafar, I think, is a very cool character, though I do think it would be better if a person of color wrote his story, because I don't think I could authentically write his story, being a white lady. So, and I hope that happens one day. So I think that would
Absolutely.
be amazing, because I think that would be a fun story for somebody to write.
So Billy asks, how many more books do you have mapped out for the series so far?
Let me see. So we've got Lady Tremaine. It's funny. I'm trying to remember. Like, we've got Lady Tremaine, the one I'm working on now. I think three or four more. I can't remember, quite honestly.
Like, your organizational system, I imagine, needs to be pretty like
It's
on
all
point.
by person, like it's not by number, right? It's all by character. So I know what's happening in everybody's books. I know the order in which they're going to be released. I know the stories and how they're going to connect. It's all this like long game, but I can't really talk about it because I can't talk about who's coming next. You know,
Right.
and how it connects. Sometimes the order in which they come out, like the characters that I have planned, will get switched up. But I have contingency plans, right? I'm like, okay, well, if this person is next, then it has to go like this. And if that person's next, like I have like copious notes, like about how all these things will go down. But it's hard for me to think in terms of like numbers. Like I'd have to literally like name all the people that I have in mind. And I think it's 4 more, like that we have planned so far.
So you need to teach a course if you need a little side hustle on your organizational system. Because I'm just imagining, like, how do you
organize if I can't like think off the top of my head how many more books I have planned, right? I can't think of the number, but I can think of the people.
it's there somewhere. It's all, imagine it is. So yes, I'm impressed that you have it all, and you're working on them all sort of simultaneously or back to back. Right. And then but you have to also keep them separate and organized. I know that I could learn some things from you.
Oh, the entire series is like one big long story to me. Like they're kind of like not separate books. And so I actually reread Lady Tremaine's story in preparation for like the interviews I'm going to be doing, because I didn't want to inadvertently give away something for the book, for book 9, because we're in the process of doing book 9 now. And I'm like, sometimes I forget, like, what was that in book 9? Was that, because it all connects in my mind. So I didn't want to be giving away spoilers.
You got like cue cards behind the camera over here. You're like, yes, no. Yeah. Right. You've got like blacklists of things you can't say.
Right. Right.
Okay. Hugo is asking, he says, speaking of the mini kingdoms, will we see a new map of it with updates in a new book?
Oh, that would be lovely. I'm not sure if we're ever going to do another map. I imagine, I don't know if we're going to do another Odd Sisters book per se, and that's where we would probably do another map. I mean, I'd like to, and I'd like to do another like family tree or something, but I'm not sure, because I think if we were to do that, I mean, it would take away from the villain that we're focusing on at the time. I mean, I do plan to continue the Odd Sister story, like Odd Sisters and Nanny and Cersei, and intertwine it like through the villain stuff, but I don't want to do anything like too much that would take the spotlight, off of Lady Tremaine, for example, Yes. So that would be a delicate balance, I think.
Okay, you're listening, so I'm going to just throw this out there. Swag in the future, you could not put it in the book, but you could make it part of a pre-order thing. Not you, but the powers that be that are observing the event. So that would work. Great. Mm-hmm.
That would be cool. I would love to, in my mind, when we did the original map in the Odd Sisters book, I thought that it would be cool that if we kept like adding more and more and more to the map, and like, putting all the different people, all the different kingdoms, that we're going to do. And we couldn't put the kingdoms that I was planning to do in the future on the map, because then that would give away who was going to be in the next book,
Right.
Like, for example, if you saw Neverland on there, you'd be like, oh, she's going to write about it. No, I'm not saying I'm going to, but it would be something that would give it away.
Right, exactly. But that brings up a good point, though, an updated map, as you go along every few books, if there's something that's changed, then being able to update that map and sort of get it out there somehow.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be fun. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, look, Seal thinks a family tree would be cool.
There you go.
My dog is like running around. He has this little Bubba. He has this little mechanical puppy that we bought him. It's like dogs that go bark, 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 and then they do a flip. Right. Well, it's not on right now, but he wants it to be on. So he's causing havoc right now.
I think I heard his little toenails a minute ago.
He's clicking. I call it click sharking. So like he's circling me like a shark, but it's like clicking, clicking around me.
Love it. I love it. Yeah. My dad, I have a little Boston Terrier, and he'll do that same thing.
They're the cutest. They're Absolutely. So cute, Boston Terriers.
Okay, so speaking of Seal, he asks, what's it like to have a graphic novel companion coming out for one of your books? Nice segue.
Right. Thank you. I happen to have the arc right here. I was planning on letting everybody know that it is coming out on September 28th, and I wanted to show this beautiful artwork by Ariel. Oh my goodness. Here, let's see if you guys can. I don't know if the glare is like.
No, it's so pretty.
Isn't it beautiful? I'm so in love with this.
I love it so much.
So we're going to find.
Okay. I'm going to put the link to the Evil Thing graphic novel.
Here, check this out. Look at that beautiful illustration of Cruella. Yeah. Ariel, like, put so much emotion and feeling like into her illustrations. She did such an incredible job, and Janet, who did the coloring, like did a perfect job. Like everything about this book is amazing, and it's so interesting to start my career off, writing comics, and then go off and do novels for so long, and then come back to doing graphic novels again. It's beautiful, and I'm just so pleased to be writing, the books and having the chance to work with artists again, and everybody at Disney, of course, has been great. So it's a lot of fun. I can't wait for Lady Tremaine's book to come out, but I also just can't wait for everybody to get this like in their little hands. It's so beautiful.
When that's sort of like full circle thing, like you're saying, when you started out and now you're working on a graphic novel again, yeah. That's so much fun.
It's so much fun. Yeah, I love writing graphic novels. I actually think they're harder to write than novels, honestly. Like they're a lot more demanding. I mean, not when you're adapting your own work. I mean, I think that's easier. But it is a little bit harder because, you're writing for yourself, you're writing for the reader, you're writing for the artist, for the letterer, for the colorist. You're writing for everybody, and if you write long script like I do, you're like, page 1, panel 1, this, and you have to describe like every little thing, but you also want the artist to be able to bring something of themselves to the project as well, and you don't want to completely dictate it. You're like, there's 6 panels on this page, like, well, they might decide that like an inset with like 4 others is better, and so being it's a really cool collaborative process that I missed. So I'm really happy, and I couldn't be more pleased how this book came out. So
that's fine. That was kind of one of the questions I was going to ask. Is like, what's the difference, and mm-hmm. That is fascinating. It being more of a collaborative effort,
right? Well, I mean, and with novels, you get to go wherever you want in a novel. I get to like muse for an entire chapter if I want about somebody's memory of something. I remember like one Oscar Wilde book what was it? I think it was Picture of Dorian Gray. I mean, I think it was like 4 pages of a person talking, right? You can't do that in a graphic novel. I mean, you can, but it's just going to be like talking heads for about, 17,000 years, which I felt bad about in Evil Thing for the illustrator, because I kept saying, I'm so sorry, there's so many talking heads, but I wrote this as a novel, So, but it's easier to write novels because you can muse about what's going on in your head. You can change like points of view from chapter to chapter. You can flash back, and of course you can do all those things in a graphic novel, but not as easily. And you have a lot less space in real estate in order to do it. You have to be concise. It's like the difference between, it's like graphic novels. It's like you have to like write like for Twitter. It has to be small.
Right. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, you've only got this much space.
You only have this much space, and you also, you have to be very careful about, making sure that you're not, writing something that's already on the page, like that's going to be happening visually. It's like, it's a cool, it's a totally different medium, and it's harder, I think, it's more challenging. I like it. I like it a lot.
Right. Okay, so we have another question. How about Queen of Hearts untold story in the future?
I think Queen of Hearts would be fun. I think she's an interesting character. She's really angry all the time, and I'd like to know why. I'd like to.
Yeah. What is the deal with that?
To figure out what's makes her so mad. Why is she mad? Why does she want to paint everything red? Why does she want to chop everybody's heads off? There's a
lot going on in there.
Yeah, there's a story happening with her, and that would be an interesting character. I mean, I can't say yay or nay if I'm going to write about her or any of these people that we've talked about, but I think that she would be a fun character to write about.
Let's see, what does Margaret say? On the material, like a wall hanging, looks around office. She's looking around her office for open wall space. She's like seconding the like a poster, a family tree, or a map or something. Yes.
I'm sorry. What's this? Or what are we looking at?
Oh, Margaret is just agreeing that some wall art, map, or family tree would be.
That would be so cool. Like if there was ever like a promo thing for like one of the books coming out, like if we did like a map family tree thing. Seal, that would be so cool.
He's paying attention. He thinks the family tree is cool. So we've got one of them.
We've got a cool family tree in the Odd Sisters, and it'd be cool if we could just expand upon the map that we already have in the Odd Sisters. Pablo Santander did a beautiful job on both of those. He did the family tree and the map of the many kingdoms. We can just, call him up and say, hey, would you like to expand on that?
Hey, you want to pull out that file you've got and just sort of add some stuff to it. It's great. Maps are fascinating to me. I love maps, real maps of fictional places. It puts you, like, I love travel, and I am an old school map person. I still have like a Rand McNally atlas in my car that's just there because you never know.
Yeah, maps are fascinating. Definitely. And especially if you can create one about a fictional world, I think that helps people see where everything is and how it's connected. It's like, how close is, Cinderella's castle to Beauty and the Beast castle, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Could you just go over there?
Pretty darn close, actually.
So the answer is it's a day trip.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah. Do you have a long weekend? You can go to.
But I have to think about these things. Well, they don't visit each other. Like the kingdoms stay to themselves. That's like an interesting thing about the many kingdoms. Like they don't go visiting each other, but they do live in close proximity. So they know of each other. For sure.
What I'd imagine that is kind of like realistic, not of what we consider now. Our, leaders are just taking off by plane all over the world all the time. Right. But back in the day, that wasn't quite, I don't think they were all like, yes, I'll send the king over here.
Right. Get in the carriage and go all the way. Yeah.
No, they were just hanging out. They send the messenger.
They've got their own things going on, like in their own kingdoms. They don't need to go to other kingdoms. And that's actually one of the things that I address in the Lady Tremaine book, actually. So because Lady Tremaine obviously has to meet Cinderella's dad at some point, right? So I'm not making a spoiler that she meets him in London. And they talk about like politics and like the state of history in both lands, and that's one of the things that we learn about is like all the different kingdoms and how they interact with each other and how they don't meddle with each other's kingdoms, because each kingdom has their own villain to contend with, so they don't need to You don't need to.
They got enough stuff going on.
They got enough going on. They don't need to deal. And ironically, Lady Tremaine, Sir Richard, Cinderella's dad, is like, and luckily our kingdom has no such villains whatsoever. He doesn't realize he's going to bring her.
It's like, and enter you. Yes.
Lady Tremaine.
I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Four-color poster. I'm just making sure I get all of the comments in there.
No. I'm not keeping up with all the comments. I'm letting you.
Oh yeah, now I think I've got them. Charles, I just want to say thank you. He's watching from Port Charlotte, Florida. He tunes in quite a bit and asks if we are having as much fun as we appear to be.
Oh, we are having fun.
Yeah. That's one of the great things about virtual happy hour. They're fun.
They're fun. Yes.
They're fun. We get to hang out, learn about each other, learn about books, learn about everyone who's tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning in.
I mean, I'm not happy that it's so hot here in, Napa, and I feel like I'm, melting. But other than that, I'm having fun with you. And I think it's apropos that it's warm here, and I'm talking to you in New Orleans, so I kind of feel like I did when I was in New Orleans, and I'd come visit y'all, and I'd be like, oh, God, I'm hot. I have to go.
Yes, and the last few days have been actually a little bit cooler than normal because it's been so overcast and raining every day. But then also the humidity is not going away. So it might only be 85, but the humidity is like 95%. So yes, I hurried up. I came in, powdered everything. So it wasn't quite as shiny. But if I have to walk out that door, everything is just going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it got like as hot in Napa. Actually,
it's warm here. I mean, we don't have like the humidity, so we don't have like the index. So if you look at the temperature, that's the temperature. It's not like 10 degrees hotter, which is I mean, it's probably not all that. I think it's just like around 90. So
I love it. I don't know where everyone's watching from, but like someone somewhere is like around 90.
But for like someone from New Orleans, like
I'm like 90. Yeah. Oh, it's just Tuesday. It's no big deal.
It's just because my old house doesn't have AC, so it just feels warm.
Yeah. And that's great too. Like here, no AC would be just go get a hotel.
Not even heard of. Yeah, like whenever I talk to my friends down there, like, you don't have AC? Like, is that like against the law? Like, what's happening?
Well, I have a friend who lives in New Hampshire, and she has this beautiful old house, and there's no AC in it. Mm-hmm. And the first time I went to visit her, it was just like, it was actually just the end of May, and I'm still cool. And she's like, oh, it's starting to get hot. I have to open the windows, And she's originally from Florida, so she was like, I kind of miss AC sometimes. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to need to put on some leggings and a hoodie. I don't know what's happening right now. All right, Hugo has another question.
Yay, Hugo.
Was it difficult to write a stoic character like Lady Tremaine? That's a good question.
It's Hugo. I can't remember if you're one of the ARC readers or not. It's if you could answer that would be helpful. I think she starts off in her story not quite so stoic, and it's like it's sort of something that she decides to find for herself in order to protect her heart from being hurt. And she's seeing like a lack of control in her life. She doesn't feel like she has control over her own daughters. She has control over her life. She doesn't have the same sort of order that a lot of lords and ladies have. Like, they don't like have the dressing gong. They don't change for dinner. She's very informal with her servants at the beginning of the story, because she wanted things to be different than they were when she was married to Anastasia and Drusilla's father. But as she sees her daughters becoming more and more unruly, basically, she thinks she needs to rein it in, and she needs to create more order, and she decides to become more stoic and more controlled, and that's sort of how we see a lot of lords and ladies from that time being, anyways, just very reserved or whatever. I didn't have a problem with it. I can be pretty stoic myself, even though I'm a giggler. I didn't find it like a stretch. For her, I think it was a way to protect herself from being hurt, like creating like a cold, icy outer shell, in a way to rein her unruly girls in, because they're just all over the place. Anastasia and Drusilla are out of control.
And I can attest to this. As a mom with teenagers, sometimes you're like, I'll try anything. It's just pretending I have no emotions and like being super stoic. Is that going to help? Is this helping?
Right.
No. Okay. Please.
You know, pretending like, I won't take you to the country. You cannot have that horse. I mean, like in the story, Anastasia and Drusilla's dad passes away, and Lady Tremaine just wants them to be happy. You know, she wants to do anything that she can for them to make them as happy as possible. And so she ends up spoiling them. And she realizes, like, there's an incident that happens that makes her realize, oh, I might have ruined my children. You know, like, I think I took this too far. And so instead of making it gradual, she's just like, okay, now we're just going to do it, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So we have one final question because we're getting to 6 o'clock.
Oh,
yeah, we've almost made it.
So fast with you. I know, like, next thing I know, like, oh, is it really? Can we still talk?
Right. Oh, yeah. We're here. So will we find out more about the Blue Fairy?
Oh, the Blue Fairy is in the Lady Tremaine story. So, as you would guess, and I think I mentioned this earlier, Fairy Godmother does not want to help Anastasia and Drusilla, even though she's fairy duty bound to grant the wishes of Cinderella, because Cinderella is her charge. She doesn't feel that extends to Anastasia and Drusilla. And her sister Nanny challenges her and says, you have to, and if you don't, I will strip you of your charge, and I will become Cinderella's fairy godmother. And of course, everybody freaks out about this, but Nanny's in charge of the fairy realms now. She's in charge of the fairylands, and so of course, fairy godmother freaks out, and they decide to call a fairy council. And the Blue Fairy is there, the three good fairies, Nanny, and fairy godmother, and they all learn Lady Tremaine's story, and they vote to see if they're going to help Anastasia and Drusilla. And I mean, it's really like, I don't know how they're going to achieve this. I mean, I know how they're going to achieve it, but let's pretend I don't know how.
I don't even know what's going to happen.
I don't know how they're going to achieve this, because it's like pretty much the only like progressive people on this council are Nanny and Blue Fairy. They're like the two cool people on the council. Fairy Godmother and the three good fairies are pretty close-minded, or at least they are at the beginning of the story. So we'll see what happens.
That was an excellent cliffhanger. That was good. So I'm going to put the link one more time to pre-order a personalized copy of Cold Hearted.
Oh, yes, and look, they're going to be on these, in case you missed it, they're going to be cool Disney book plates, and there's plenty of room for your personalizations, but, not like the Gettysburg Address or anything, right?
Like a sentence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to show you the cool cover again. I'm so excited.
I love it. Okay, these covers too. I don't know if somebody thought about this or not, but that one's so good for doing that like book face, Instagram book face. So everyone,
love it.
You need that. There you go. Everybody, when you get your book, do the Instagram book face. Tag us all. It's great. And yes, so if you order on the website, you can put in the comments what you want your personalization to be. And if you want to give us a call, you can call us anytime during business hours. And of course, we'll take your order that way. We ship worldwide, so we will get the book to you. And
don't forget that the graphic novel is coming out on September 28th.
Yes, and you can pre-order that one too.
Yeah, we can do that too. Yeah, that would be fun.
Well, thank you so much, Serena, for joining me for Virtual Happy Hour again.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks, everyone, to tuning in and making a comment and watching. We love you. We couldn't do it without you.
Thank you, everyone. Love you. Bye.
Bye, guys.